Welcome, everybody, to Divided We Stand on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, VK, and for about another 2 months on Periscope, which will switch to Twitter, so that's a good thing. You know, I was going to be very positive tonight. Last night, I thought, you know what, this will be one weekend where I'll be able to go into the show with Dave, and I'll feel really good about the way things are going because I know they can't steal anything now. And then the asshole comes back out of nowhere, Ted Cruz. I don't know if anybody's seen the news today, but he's planning on more shenanigans. This time it's an audit. What's next? Every day in anticipation of the inauguration, we say, what's next? And I don't know how I'm going to handle it. And I hope that my co-host will not make my head fall off my neck today because he knows how to upset me. But in any case, I'm going to announce my guest here. This is my co-host, David Price. Dave, it's great to see you again. I hope you're not as discombobulated as I am over the events today.
Never, Brian.
How are you?
Good. You know, it was interesting. I was watching your opening, which I always enjoy, and you look surprised to be on. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason he was surprised to be on, that's legitimate. He never knows. He pushes buttons and has no idea what the hell's going to happen.
Eventually, I push the right button, and I'm okay.
When I start running my shows, it'll be a professional operation. But till then, we'll put up the way. I mean, Brian's a great.
Notice he said when he has his show. We keep waiting. It's been a year now.
Well, well, I'm not rushing into it. What happens is
apparently not. You gonna live to 130?
Really, I think not. Well, 212. We can kind of look at Brian when it comes, when it comes to technology and running a show. I call Brian the Ted Cruz of producers. I think that's kind of the way I look at it. So you were picking up Mr. Cruz. What's up with that?
Yeah, he's Dave, you know that I have my shit list, and of course Trump's always number one. But we have Devin Nunes, Matt Gaetz, and Jim Jordan. And Cruz at one point was, he's up in there, but he wasn't at the top of the list, And I actually, the only reason I got upset with him of late was when he grew his beard to cover his lack of chin, kind of what Donald Trump Jr. did. But now he's at it again. Here's a guy who's an attorney just like this Hawley guy. And he's causing problems again. And he has moved from number 15 up to number 2 or 3 right now. And that's very hard to defeat Devin Nunes on my list. I don't know where he is on your shit list, Dave, but this guy just comes back like a ghost. I mean, he's just horrible, isn't he?
Do you know why he's doing what he's doing?
To get me upset? I don't know. He mustn't.
No, he doesn't care about you, Brian. I mean, unfortunately, he doesn't care about anybody. He's kind of from the Donald Trump school of I don't care about anybody but me. Now, I'm sure there'll be people that will question this, and that's fine. It's only my opinion. Josh Hawley from Missouri, he put his finger up and he said, you know what? There's a wind out there blowing behind Donald Trump, and I'm going to get a piece of that wind, right? So he comes out and does what Mitch McConnell said not to do, which was basically challenge in the Senate the results. Okay, I'm sure that Mr. Cruz, to me, he's not a senator, so I'm calling Mr. tonight. Mr. Cruz is desiring of the presidency himself. I believe, if I remember correctly, God told his wife, I believe is what happened, it was a procession, and then she told Ted that God wanted to be president. I mean, that's serious. I think that's how it worked out at one point, or at least that's what they were saying. So, God ordained. So, but Ted said, wait a minute, even God might not be able to stop the senator from Missouri. So my best guess is he's doing it. There's going to be a tremendous fight in the next few days to become the heir apparent should Trump fall. So that's my best guess of why he's doing what he's doing. Is it going to be successful? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, that's good to hear, Dave.
There's a whole bunch of risks that they're running here, though. One is that they think. Well, let's take the first one first. And Brian, I'm going to ask you, and anybody else out there, please chime in, because I don't just have a conversation.
Yeah, we will be. I'm going to try to keep up with the comments tonight,
No,
Dave.
no. Well, I mean, yeah, and you know, it's great. We love the side conversations among everybody else, and that's great. But you know, it helps us if you not comment to ours, but ask us questions. You know, things that are on your mind, and we can. Anthony, Happy Davis to New Year's. Anthony, Happy New Year.
We've got a lot of people on tonight already. We've got Joey. We've got Keith saying Happy New Year, Joey.
Oh, Anthony. I need to talk to Keith. I'll be messaging you. I have a message for you later. Anyway, here's what we have. As I say, I think what's going to be interesting is they're positioning themselves, a number of people, to be the heir apparent to Trump, should Trump stumble and fall out. Now he's going to be out of the White House. He's not out of power, but he's out of the White House on January 20th. So, Brian, let me ask you something. This I find interesting because I don't have an answer for it. I think about it. Is it Trump that they're following? Right? I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not always easy to step in. Look, Trump is a reality show host. He's been a bad reality show president. But, you know, let's use TV for a moment. How many times have you seen, Brian, when the lead actor leaves or they replace him? You know, the fans don't like it, right? I mean, they weren't necessarily watching the show.
Well,
right?
I think in Bewitched, I think they kind of did a good job because they kind of looked the same. But other than that,
and there
right.
you are. Okay.
Right.
But nobody looks like Trump, right? Nobody is
right.
Trump. So my point is what the first calculation they have to look at, and they're not always do the best calculating, is, you know, can anybody assume Trump's position? Now, what do you think, Brian? Do you think it's Trump? Do you think there can be somebody step in? What do you think?
Well, I don't know that I agree with you on the fact that, you know, Cruz is trying to become the presidential hopeful in this. Although that may be correct because they've been saying the same thing about Hawley, but
so why is Ted? Well, let's start with that then. Why do you think Ted Cruz is doing what he's doing? None of us know, except Ted Cruz.
You know, Ronnie was talking with me tonight. She thought, well, you know, maybe there's something that he has to fear. Maybe he feels he'll be exposed in some way. I don't know. I mean, we know Lindsey Graham. I don't know what kind of things going on, but there definitely is at least seemingly a bifurcation in the Republican Party of the last week or two. And I don't know whether it's that they're afraid of the constituents, these Proud Boy types. Let me just show you an example of what I'm talking about, Dave.
Sure. Examples are always good.
You know, this comes from your favorite social media platform, Parler, Dave. And if you can,
I do spend some time there.
Here, it says here, we will finish a civil war. Democrats are all pussies without weapons. Another added. All right, so they're just looking for a fight.
Well, let's look at that for a moment. Let's take some quotes tonight and look at that.
There, look at the one above it. Okay, I don't know if you can read that.
I want to start with the one you have. I like that. We will finish a civil war in a week. Democrats are all pussies without weapons. You know who believed that? Who actually kind of believed that? A group of people that were south of where I live, Washington, D.C., in 1861. And the North also believed it to a certain extent. They thought it would be one battle and done. In fact, here, the fine ladies and gentlemen from Washington, D.C. rode out in their carriages because it wasn't that far to, you know, depending on which side you were on. The Northern called it Bull Run and the Southerners call it Manassas, which is, you know, within carriage distance, driving distance. Then all of a sudden they were scuttling back. The reason being, and we all know that it took 4 years, but that was two armies, if you will, militias joined together. Is the guy who said, does he really think he's going to fight us? He's not going to fight us. You know who he's going to fight? The U.S. military.
Well, that's really, you know, that's why I said to Ron tonight. I mean, if we can get to the 20th, we'll be fine because they won't fight.
We don't even need to get to the 20th.
Do you think that the military would, you know?
Yes. Look,
before then,
I say this every week, and every week I'm more certain as I look into it more. Talk to a couple people. I don't have any inside sources in the Pentagon. I don't mean that, but people around here are working. I was with a gentleman today who happens to work there. It's just true. There are, I'm sure, a handful of people, or some, just like there are in America, who are for Trump. But for the most part, there's certainly not anybody in leadership positions in terms of, generals. He has berated and downrated every general that he's had. Colin Powell, who was a general, said bring General Flynn back in the military.
No, he needs
try
it.
him with him.
He needs it.
Try him with a military tribunal. So the question becomes, who has more oomph in the military, Donald Trump or the Constitution? I'm going to go with the Constitution. Who has more oomph in the military currently, Colin Powell or Michael Flynn? I'm going to go with Colin Powell. There is no doubt that in my mind whatsoever that the military would not take up arms against American civilians on Donald Trump's orders. Okay, that's just I think what the people are saying. The Proud Boys, and every time I say that, and they have no reason to be proud of anything, including probably their penis size. But the idea is they use scare and intimidation tactics. Now, think about how much alike they are with Donald Trump. Donald Trump, every time he got in trouble as a businessman, what did he do? I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you, right? And that was his threat. And I was a reporter long enough to know that a lot of times suits are settled or dropped simply because it's not worth the effort to go through them. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with justice or right or wrong. It's just the smart economic move. So that he was kind of a legal bully, if you will.
He still is.
He still is. But if you were to take him,
but the party has become a legal bully too.
I understand that. But bullies, if you stand up to them, a lot of times you find out they're not as tough as they prepare to be.
Well, isn't that guy right, though? They're the ones that have the guns in terms of the citizens.
Okay, let's look at this. Are they going to come to your house and start shooting you?
It depends,
It depends on what?
On what is allowed. You know what I mean? I mean, it's you wouldn't think. Listen, look, I know it seems crazy, but listen to this verbiage up here. Hell yeah, we want to go in with lethal force and clean house. Of course, we want a bloodbath if Trump is cheated with a fraudulent election. Another remark: the left wants to destroy America. We want to prove it, and MAGA. Who wants civil war again? Blah, 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 blah. So it goes on and on and on.
Brian, it's words. It's words. Words. You're going to get upset by words?
Yes.
Upset by words? You are. By
because,
people who can't,
look, as soon as, as there's this kind of thing going on where you're having this, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. You've got the propaganda arm. Let me just show you, Dave. Just from Facebook. I mean, not Facebook.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm open.
Let me see what the scene here. Hold on for a second.
Take your time.
All right. So this one comes from Fox. This is just out recently here. Okay. So they make it like there's a goddamn hurricane, hitting the coast. They say emergency audit. GOP senators led by Cruz to object to January 6th. This thing goes on and on and on. Now, for you and me, you say, okay, that's just bullshit. They say emergency audit. But when a Republican, or let's just say when a Trumper reads something like this up here, they think it is a hurricane. They think this, we are ready for a civil war. And these people are that stupid. Remember, as I've said, ignorance is violence. Who's to say that they won't take up arms? They're crazy.
So let them take up arms, Brian.
Well, if you can guarantee me that the military will step in, I'm all for it, because I know they'll lose. I agree with you on that.
They're going to lose.
They'll melt.
But
the military has to come in. In fact, I wish they'd do it tomorrow.
I don't know. The military has to come in. I mean, I think they're ready to come in. It will be interesting. January 6th will be a very interesting, and that's using a mild term, in Washington, D.C. Nobody knows how many people are coming. The last estimate I heard was about 15,000 Trumpers expected to be here. There's already approval for 4 different rallies. So, I mean, it could be in excess of that. It could be less. Now, let's look at the law. Okay, the law says in Washington, D.C., you are not allowed to carry or display or have on your person firearms. Okay. Now, that's a little different than states where you can. All right. So, in other words, if you are a police officer and you see a weapon, it is your job to arrest the person who has the weapon. Okay. So, again, I'm not going to use pronouns tonight. They say they welcome a confrontation with police. They said if they get in our way, we'll kill them. That was out today.
Who said that? I didn't see it.
The Proud Boys.
Proud Boys.
Basically, saying it doesn't matter. In other words,
I'd be surprised if they did do that, because I think they join each other for what I saw with Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, that's essentially the same thing.
Listen, you're making the same mistake that other people do. We are not a country. Okay, we're not. We're 50 individual places trying to be a country. So this is why national news is really a non-starter. What happens in Michigan is not going to play out in Virginia, is not going to play out in Florida, is not going to play out in Hawaii, right? Because we're not one country with one set of laws.
Gary wants to remind you that guns is a word.
Guns are very much a word. What I'm saying is, if you really want to play the gun game, I'm fine with that. Who has the most guns in America?
In terms of the citizens, or just?
I didn't put any qualifications on who has the most guns.
Well, then you've got the U.S. military for sure.
Who has the second most guns?
The police. The law or National Guard. Okay, National Guard.
Who has the third most guns?
That would be the police forces.
Are you 100% certain that the 1,000, 1,200 people coming to Washington, D.C. on January 6th have more guns than they do in the southeast section?
I agree with you. I'm just not sure. Look, I know what you've been saying about the military, but I still think that you've got people like Michael Flynn still trying to get inside that Pentagon, and whatever, because you yourself, Dave, you've admitted that while most of the Pentagon seems to be against him, there still has to be some elements in there that are like the Michael Flynns. That's still a problem.
Okay. Or for the most part, would you agree with this statement? The American military is the smartest the military has ever been in the history of the United States.
I'm not sure I understood that. I mean, right now, as far as it's...
If you were to look decade to decade, right now, the military is the most intelligent it's ever been in the history of America.
Again, I'll just say yes in terms of technology.
Well, it is. Okay, it is. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
it is. I mean, we don't have a draft, right? You go in, they can say no to you, right? There's a lot of the officers, they have to have a lot of training. So, it's not this, what should I say? It's sort of the difference between a township constable, a city policeman, and a state trooper, right? And this is the state trooper, if you will, of the military. Now, of the military compared to everyone else. So no, they're not going to do that. They're not. Now, I'll tell you what. If they do, I'm in more trouble than most, because I'm 1.4 miles from the Pentagon. So if they start shooting at me, I'll let you know very quickly. They're not. but that's not going to happen. It's not even worth making a joke over. What is going to happen, unfortunately, is there are going to be some people get hurt. And that's always the case. And unfortunately, they're not always the ones who should get hurt. We have two viruses right now. I'm not sure which one is more deadly, the coronavirus or the whatever the hell you want to call it, the Trumpian virus, whatever it is. I don't know. But, I think, what bullies do, and we're back to bullies. What bullies do is they try to back you down. That's what they do. That's what they're put on earth for. So the first thing is you have to say, well, I'm going to stand up to them. But that's not always the best approach. It depends on how you're going to stand up to them. Who would you rather have fight them? The police department or you, Brian?
I still want the Marines to fight them.
They're not going to come in yet. I'm saying first, it will be citizens or the local.
I don't know. I would say that, yeah, obviously the police. I don't want to have to do anything. I want to be able to watch the football game and see the U.S. military beat the shit out of them. To be honest with you, I'll be glad. That's what I deserve. I deserve to be able to watch a movie for 2 hours, and then within those 2 hours, the U.S. military just knocks every one of them out. That's how I feel. I'm so fed up with them. I don't want to have to be bothered by them. I don't want my doorbell ringing. I want the problem done by 8:30 at night.
Let me ask you a question. Are they bothering you? And you're speaking for
They're in here. They're in here.
Whoa, Brian, listen to me. Let me finish.
Are
they bothering you, or are you letting them bother you?
I think it's more or less a combination. The arrows are coming. How can it be a combination? Because I cannot not deal with them. You know what I mean? It's just not my personality. Not all of us can be Dave Price and say, you know what? I'm going to Chipotle in half an hour. I'm not going to worry about it. I can't do that.
I didn't say I didn't worry about it, Brian. Okay. What I've said all along, and I want to make sure that people not understand me, but for themselves. Be fearful of what you need to be afraid of. Be fearful of what you need to be afraid of. The thing right now that we need to be afraid of is losing our democracy, if that's important to us. Now, I don't see that happening. The possibility of that ended on Election Day. This time. Remember, we have to keep coming back to the 3 phases. The first phase was the election. We won. Done. This is the desperation phase. This is
no doubt about it. They are in desperation mode right now.
They're they are. But the problem becomes when you're desperate. It's never good to act from desperation. You try not to get there. That's what I'm saying. Brian, you've been around students long enough. When you see a fight, it just turns emotional, and neither one of them fight the way they could, if they thought it out, like a professional boxer does. Right. So, right now they're running on pure emotion. Now, let's look at this. Now, Judy, I use my wife, Judy, as a, kind of a symbol of the, what I say, the normal political observer. I mean, she's not as in depth as I am, but she's certainly aware. She watches a lot. But what happens, as she said today, she's getting upset. She said, "Well, what's going on?" So I mean, I think everyone's saying that. All right, and the thing is, Brian, human beings, and I'm not above being a human being. Come on, look, I'm not. But one of the things that human beings don't like is they don't like change. All right. And they feel threatened by change. And I think that's part of how Trump got in. And I think it's part of why some people, they're terrified of Joe Biden. They're terrified of Democrats. They're terrified of everybody who watches or listens or is on this show. Now, the interesting thing is, I don't have a gun, so what are they terrified? Well, they're terrified of two things. They're terrified that we can outthink them, and they're terrified that we can outvote them. And we can do
And they're
both.
terrified that the nation is browning. I mean, that's really behind the whole
Well,
thing.
of course.
We've discussed that, and
Well,
that's
of course. I mean, there's no doubt about that. All right.
they know they can't win the fair election. So we've been talking about this,
Well,
but
okay.
that's
But my
really
point is,
they see
but
this is why they gerrymandered the last 20 years to get where they were now.
okay. But you know what?
There's your conspiracy, folks. If you believe in conspiracies,
That's not
gerrymandering. That's
it's not
a real
conspiracy.
one. That's like
It's not a
right
conspiracy.
there.
They did it open.
Right. Right.
It's not a conspiracy. A conspiracy has to be hidden. But what
Yeah,
I
but
see
it's hidden in
happening,
the sense that the people who believe in conspiracies don't believe that's a conspiracy. They don't recognize it. I mean, it's just
you
right
know
in
what?
front of their faces.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm just saying I reached a decision, maybe last week, maybe a week before. Been thinking about it. There's two realities, at least two. Theirs and ours. Ours is right. I'm not interested in debating with them. I'm not interested with them. I'm not going to kill them because that is against my moral code. What if tonight every person who voted for Donald Trump was lifted off the planet and taken somewhere else?
Woohoo!
I have no tears to shed for any. Although there would be relatives, former students, people that were associates / friends, bandmates, everything that I've ever done in my life, but no tears. America would be better. The world would be better.
Absolutely.
Because it's a reality. You're not going to change them. So you've got a few options, right?
Yeah, and then some of them are pretty ugly right now, from what I see.
You can kill them. I'm not part of that. Okay.
But you just said, look, if they fell into the sea, that would kind of be okay, because
Brian, I didn't say there's a big difference.
You want the other assassin to do it, but yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Because no, it's not that. I want the right assassin to do it. And that's somebody with authority, whether it be the police, whether it be the military,
Right.
whether it be Mitch McConnell, rein your troops in. Now, here's why I'm not as worried as I think some people. We are witnessing in real time the death of the Republican Party. We are.
Right, but we shouldn't celebrate, and I know you're going to say the same thing. There's no reason to celebrate right now, because now we're getting something worse. We have the birth of the Fascist Party of America.
I'm gonna take a different tactic on that. I don't think so.
Just don't get Pollyanna on me here. That's all I ask.
I'm not. Brian, you're the one who always says logic. Man, you're really out there somewhere.
Well, tonight, look, I'll admit, this is an emotional response to hearing this crap from Ted Cruz.
That's exactly what they want you to do. You're responding to them exactly how Trump manipulates. Now, Cruz and company, they're not dumb, all right? They've seen a couple things. They've seen what Trump accomplished, and he is politically dumb, okay? And so they want to do that. That's why I'm convinced that Mr. Cruz is positioning himself, as is the unesteemed, deplorable senator from Missouri, Mr. Josh, now, Tubernut, or whatever his name is, the new Auburn football coach.
Oh, Tommy Tuberville, or whatever the hell his name is?
Tuberville. He's just terrible. I mean,
it sounds like the name of like a Mayberry type town.
Well,
Tuberville.
he is. He didn't even know there were three branches of government. He said, yeah, there's three branches. Let's see, there's president and
AFC,
House.
NFC, and the NHL.
Who knows? But I mean, so he's just along to, he's Alabama. And he's
he's a problem. And, I said to Ron last night, I was watching the college football game, Dave, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if all the African-American players from Alabama said, you know what, we're not going to play this fucking game for your team in your state if you're going to pull this shit,
But you know what, Brian, that's easy to say, but there's a couple things that are tough about that. First of all, you're asking 18 and 19-year-old kids.
I know. Ron was saying that
who don't have a future to mess with their future. What do I mean by that? A lot of Alabama players, in fact, this year they might go 1-2 in the draft. I mean, they're I think they could almost beat a couple. They could probably beat the Eagles and a couple of low-level teams the way they are. So first of all, they don't want to jeopardize that pro future. That's asking them to do a lot. Secondly, if you
But
don't believe the
sometimes
state
there
of
is a point when, as a people, you have to get together and say, you know what?
okay,
You got to sacrifice. Do you remember,
here's
Dave? I'm gonna just. I know
go ahead.
it's a
Go
tangent
ahead.
here for a second. I want
No,
to
go
get
ahead.
to Greg gives his comment. He's from our Divided We Stand page.
Go ahead.
Dave, I don't know if you remember this in history because this is not. I mean, I think for African Americans, it's really, really big. For me, it's really, really big. But the fight of the century in 19, I believe it was 1910 or 1912, when Jim Jeffries, was the great white
Right.
hope, and he was a retired
Jack
champ.
Johnson.
He comes back, fights Jack Johnson, and the next day, of course, there were race riots in Pittsburgh, and I think 4 or 6, I don't know how many African Americans died, and there was always a big question, was it worth having Jack Johnson win to lose those lives? And most African Americans have said, or did say, that it was worth it. I mean, we don't want people to die, but this win was so important to us to finally say, we
Did
can
Jack
do-
Jackson? Did Jack Jackson cheat?
Jack Johnson?
Jack Johnson. I mean, Jack Johnson. Did he cheat?
Absolutely not. I saw. I mean, you can see the fight on YouTube if you want.
I know. I just said no. So
It's still there.
What's to get upset about? In other words, he won. He won fair and square, just like Joe Biden.
Yeah, and
won
not
fair
only
and
that, because I know we're not going to talk about sports tonight, but in that fight, when Jim Jeffries went down on the ropes, they were actually helping him up. And what the hell is that?
Of course they
If he
were.
can't get up, he's done. Don't help him. I don't care what color he is. This is the tradition of the sport. You don't help him, and they helped him. And he still got his ass beat, and he deserved
Right.
it too because he said some lousy things.
Let me. Okay. You brought race up, and it's in everything in America.
Yes, because this is because
every-
again, it's
we
a
don't
fascist
need to- we-
group, and we know what they really mean by this crap.
We don't need to apologize being white guys speaking about.
No, we have intelligence.
people-
We can still
No,
read the
and here's-
lines.
And so do the intelligentsia, if you will, of the Trumppublicans. And what they're looking at Georgia right now, man. Have you,
You
seen
bet
those
they're
lines?
looking at Georgia.
Have you seen those lines?
Yes.
Have you seen like
yes, I've
10
posted.
hours waiting 10 hours
Right.
to vote? And how many white people do you see in those
Not
lines?
many. And you noticed that Trump today said something to the effect, there's going to be a cheat in Georgia, and blah, blah, blah.
What else is he going to say?
Well, I
mean,
know, but I'm saying he's worried now because it seems like behind the scenes, the pollsters are saying, hey, look, it doesn't look like we could have a loss here on both accounts because they're
Look.
down 1 or 2 points.
First of all, anyone, and I'm speaking to all the world tonight now. Anyone who cares or thinks a moment about what Trump says is just wasting their time. They're just
This
wasting
is
their
Greg's comment here, just so we
Okay,
get to
it's quite simple. Trump capitalized on hatred and ignorance, using Pence as a red carpet. Welcome to do so under the guise of anything but Christ-like faith. But couldn't said it any better. How much could you? I mean, that's it. Okay, that's it. And said when you say couldn't just any better. I mean, some people will say he did it as a con. Some people will say, he did it as a narcissist. Some people will say he did it as a business plan. The thing is, though, the buck does stop at the president's desk. So, of course, Pence is culpable. Of course, McConnell is culpable. Of course, all the GOP senators. Of course, the wiggle wormers in the GOP, like Mitt Romney, like John McCain. They're the best, being the best of the group. Talking about the Republican Party today is like talking about being the tallest of the pygmies. Is it really an honor?
But Dave, don't you have? I mean, you've been saying like, okay, the Republican Party is essentially you're saying it's going to cannibalize itself. At least it seems.
is.
Now, but I said it's not necessarily a good thing because it can lead to something which I've at least you've been right about certain things and I've been right about. For at least 3 years. I mean, pushing on really 4 years, and I was actually going back to 1993 with Newt Gingrich's contract with America. I've said this has been a de facto coup. Now it's a real fucking coup. But this party is really essentially the Fascist Party of America, and you and I have essentially agreed on that.
What difference does that make if they can't win?
Because You just don't know where this is going to go. Again, I'm getting
All right,
emotional. I know
stop.
that. I'm losing my
Somebody
logic
out there,
here.
help me out.
It's
I
you
stopped
said
counting.
yourself he's getting desperate. Okay.
Hold on. All right, hold on. One way you can have a coup is through the courts. Currently, the last I knew, there were 52 suits, and Trump, we'll call them Trump suits, even though he didn't file them all, and 51 were losses. One minor victory in Pennsylvania, where it was they were too close, And so I mean that one was nothing. His legal staff right now consists pretty much of Rudy Giuliani, Linwood, and Sidney Powell. Now, you could get better representation with the Three Stooges than you could with those three. And that's not a joke. That's absolutely correct. They are, to law, they are lower than the Three Stooges would be.
By the way, Dave, a quick hello,
Yeah.
Mantra Head. She's also from our Divided We Stand page.
Hey, Mantra.
It says Facebook user, but it's Mantra. And by the way, those of you who are on Facebook, you might want to include your first name or first and last name, because we can't get your name through Facebook because there are ID protocols through the program.
Good point, Brian. Because we like to address people. I mean,
YouTube will allow it, but not Facebook.
It's not about Brian and I talking. It's about you getting involved. There's going to be bloodshed on January 6th. Yes, Kim, there is. Okay, I can guarantee it. But it depends. How much bloodshed is too much? How much is just right? I mean, how much is? Look, you can't have that. Today they issued a plea. Not today. Well, it came out today. It's be issued all. Please stay away from Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Okay. And that's probably wise. This is on that particular day because there's nothing to be accomplished by confronting them on that day. There really isn't. Let them break the law. Let them get arrested. All right. Now, it will be interesting if you live in D.C. I mean, I live. I technically don't live in D.C., but I'm 3 metro stops from there. One of the stories that's going to play out very interestingly only in Washington. I mean, it's made national news, but you wouldn't follow it. And I think this is indicative of what happens. The oldest working hotel now in Washington, D.C. is called the Hotel Harrington. It's on East Street. It is fairly close to both the White House and Freedom Plaza. It's pretty central to that whole area, right? And the past, what was it, December, whatever that was, the last time the Proud Boys were in, that was kind of their informal national headquarters for that day. And there's been such a protest raised that the owners of the Harrington are closing for January 5th and January 6th. Okay. Now, well, the Proud Boys, they said their leader, Manuel there, said, look, we don't want to go anywhere where we don't want to be. Well, I don't think the police want them to be in D.C., but they're coming. So what'll happen with the bloodshed? There will be Antifa. There will be other couple radical groups. Black Lives Matter will be out there, as they should be. And if they choose to, because, of course, the last time, four, I think the final total was 4 Black Lives Matter banners were taken and, ripped up, destroyed. And no one has the right to do that. You just don't. Somebody else's property, you don't do it. You don't have to agree with it. I mean, I happen to agree with the movement. But even if you don't do that. So I think this idea, I think we're naive to think that there's not going to be bloodshed in this. It's a question of whose blood is shed. Do you know last time 4 people got stabbed? Right? I don't know if you knew that, Brian. 4. Do you know they were all members of the right wing, the Proud Boys of the right wing? That means they're 0 for 4, in the battle for the streets. Whose streets? Our streets? No, they're not their streets. They're America's streets, and they don't represent America. Now, why do I like what I'm seeing? Because I don't think there's any hope for a united America. I do not. I do not.
It's worse now than ever. I mean,
Well, in our lifetime.
in our lifetime. I mean, look, you want to go into the Civil War, but essentially, the elements are still there.
Since I came on the planet in 1952, so that's the second half of the 20th century and all of the 21st so far. This is as bad as it gets, and there's no way to reconcile. There isn't. There isn't, unless you were to draw enough people away from Republicans to become Democrats. And I'm not going to hold my breath having that happen. I think
I'm going to interrupt you, Dave, because I like,
Sure.
I like what Newman said here. So you've been talking about enforcement of laws, and if they did this, they would do this. But look at what's going on with COVID. Like you say, look, these people here, they're not paying. Ron went to the store today at ShopRite, and get some asshole at the customer service says she refuses to wear the mask.
All right. Do you know why she refuses?
And ShopRite's not going to do anything. They're not.
Well, who? Okay. Let's look at that. Let's look at
the
that.
Cops didn't. Okay. Before you start with that, remember the scene. You out there watching, you can remember the scene of that asshole, Kyle Rittenhouse, walking down the street with a goddamn high-powered rifle, and the police are giving him water and high fives or whatever the hell it was, and he's killing people. Okay? Right, damn well if it had been a black man, he would have been dead before he took 2 steps. Right, that son of a bitch deserved to be shot. We knew that he did, and they let him do it. So why are we going to think that the police are going to do any good? Because I'll tell you what, you ask an African American in the United States and say, well, do you think the police are going to come through if these Proud Boys? Well, I don't know. I'm feeling awfully black right now because I get it. I completely get it.
When you're done, let me know.
All right. I'm done.
Okay.
I can't help it, folks.
Do you know the racial makeup of the Washington D.C. police?
I would guess it's more African American than white. That's for sure. As far as the city, 80%. I don't know.
If you just take the idea of the city, it's the last census. It'll be less this time, but the last census it was 74% African American. Right. So again, Brian, what I said is there's 50 states. What happens in Michigan is not going to happen, and D.C. isn't even a state. It's a federal district, so it's different here. All right, it is. I don't think the police are going to stand by and watch their own get injured. I don't, and I don't think anybody does that. So, if what you're saying is if it's a chance to go after.
I don't think they'll go after the police. If the police look the other way, like they did with Kyle Rittenhouse, they won't need to go after them.
Brian, Michigan, not D.C., not D.C.
Yeah, well, I care about Michigan too. I have a cousin there, and I have many cousins. Well, they've been dying, but the point is, it doesn't matter, Dave. It's got to be done all over, all over.
It's not going to be done all over, Brian, because we're not a country that way. We are 50 small, separate, independent, freedom-loving states. It's always been that way. I don't see it getting any better. I just don't. The way it will be is vote to vote. All right. Region to region, county to county, community to community. Now, getting back to the violence here, there will be violence. There's no way it won't be. To expect it not to be. Now, how do you not get involved in the violence? Don't be there. The violence can't hurt you if you're not there. The violence only hurts the violent thugs if you're not there. Would you agree to that, Brian?
You won't. You personally shouldn't get hurt if you don't show up there, right?
Right. Who could get hurt?
Well, if you're the governor of Michigan, you could get hurt.
True. In other words, those that are actively involved.
Yeah, I would think I think they'd go after the politicians. It seems, if you think about it, they've been going right after the politicians. They've been, like just yesterday went after Mitch McConnell. not that I care about McConnell, believe
Oh
me.
no, that wasn't the Proud Boys.
Well, I don't know who it was actually. Do you think it was more of a right guy or a left guy doing that? I mean, because there are a lot of people on the right who hate McConnell now.
Well, today,
We won't know.
no, we don't. That part's true. And I can't think of a more deserving man to get, if vandalism, vandalism doesn't kill anybody, to get his house vandalized in both Kentucky and up here. That's pretty good, I think. Pretty filling. So again, we shall see on January 7th. There will be people hurt. A lot of people will not go in. So, when I say, I don't think it'll be innocent people this time so much. There'll be maybe a couple, but what it will be is the combatants, and there are three forms of the combatants: the Proud Boys and all those associated who are coming in. They're putting themselves at risk. Anybody who goes out into the streets to protest, and like I said, there will certainly be Black Lives Matter people out there. There will be Antifa out there. That's a decision each one of them has to make individually. And then the police. But that's not going to change the election, Brian. Is it? Is that going to change?
You would hope not.
Hope not. How is that, Brian?
Because every time I feel good about what you're saying, these assholes surprise the hell out of me with something else coming up.
Look at this. Did Joe Biden win the election?
Yes, and probably by more than what was stated.
It doesn't matter. He won. Whoever this Facebook user is, that's one of the big problems. Yes. You know what that reminds me of, Brian? Who is that? Do we know?
I'm not able to get folks. Please put your name, at least your first name there, because I can't trace it.
It's fine
with the phone.
But I think that's a very valid point, and I think it bears on an American war. Our soldiers fighting in the Pacific, they were kind of amazed at the bravery, if you will, or the foolhardiness of the Japanese soldiers, right? The kamikaze pilots, all those kinds of things that they would do. Well, basically, they were for their emperor, but also, the idea was sort of similar to in Arab. You'll get the Vestal Virgins. If you do that, if you don't have a fear of death, it's pretty easy to do that stuff. Now, with the rapture, what it is those.
Yeah, they don't want to die, right?
Oh no.
They want it to come, and they can still live. They don't have to go through the death. That's why they like the rapture.
If look, again, it's a question of reality. This is not a show to argue religion or spirituality. It's just simply this. I feel safe in saying that no one, not one person who ever lives, know what happens when you die with 100% absolute certainty. However, a number of people who go to churches believe that they do. They believe that they do. And if you believe you are saved, then yes, you're going to take certain chances. If you believe, that no matter what I do, if you believe, this is a righteous cause. You've seen, I loved it. I saw it on Parler first. The picture of Trump on the cross. Have you seen that one yet? That's making the rounds.
It's a waste.
What I find interesting, it's like a really buff Jesus Christ, but it's Trump on the cross, and that has become symbolic. They are. I mean, it's a cult. It's a religious experience. It's all those types of things. Now, are they going to be there? No. At most, 15,000 of the 74 million that voted for him. So,
can you check this one out here, Dave? Veg has a good point. Do you think the Democrats should pay hardball?
Veg, who would agree with you? Somebody I think is very, very smart, and that is my son. He is 100% convinced that is the proper approach to take. And I will say this, not that it matters what I think, but my thinking evolves too. I think that is the proper thing to do, is to refuse to seat them, with one proviso. You think it through what happens when they do get seated, because they will get seated. Okay, they will get seated. And the one thing you have to kind of weigh out in that equation is, are you then saying that their election, we're going to invalidate that election, but you can't invalidate Trump's election. Now, but putting that in, it's different. You're not charging them. You're saying they were elected, duly elected, but they've been seditious,
Right.
treason. All those things are absolutely something you can do.
Can we stop right there? I think that's a good point.
Yes.
I want to just show
Sure.
this 2-minute Chris Oberman thing, Dave. I think everybody.
Sure.
I think this is the perfect time for it. Let me see if
Go
I can
ahead.
get this. Make sure I have my volume set for it. Okay, hold on, Dave.
Take your time.
I don't want to have any kind of issues with the sound. Okay, I'm going to put you on mute and me on mute so
Okay.
it can be heard. Okay, here we go.
This is Olbermann versus Trump, and I'm not Trump. This is, in short, the greatest internal threat to our democracy since the Civil War. 18 days before the inauguration of President-elect Biden, 7 Republican senators, led by Ted Cruz, with 4 senators-elect, are demanding, quote, an emergency 10-day audit of the election returns in the disputed states due to, quote, unprecedented allegations of voter fraud. There are no allegations of voter fraud, not even in the nitwitted lawsuits filed by Trump and his toadies. There are no disputed states. There are no emergencies. There is only sedition. Senator Cruz and the other 10 conspirators may think they are making a deft political move to shore up the fascist end of their base and dressing it up as a high-minded replay of the 1876 Electoral Commission. In fact, Cruz and the others have merely lit a match to a corner of our Constitution. This democracy requires one underlying agreement. Elections are sacrosanct. If you lose and it is close, you may have your recount. If you lose and it is not close, you cannot fabricate closeness. You cannot fabricate disputes. You cannot fabricate an excuse for an extra-legal, extra-constitutional audit. Even that which we have never done, removing an impeached president, would not turn the presidency over to a different political party. This coup would do exactly that. And moreover, if this Pandora's box of an emergency audit is merely taken seriously, it will become automatic. We will never again have an election in this country in which the Republican Party accepts its defeat. There are laws in this country against doing what Ted Cruz just did and what he yet wants to do, and he doesn't give a damn because it's all just politics to him and to Senator Ron Johnson and Senator Marsha Blackburn and Senator Kennedy, Senator Braun, Senator Lankford, Senator Daines, and Senators-elect Haggerty, Lummis, Marshall, and Tuberville. Remember their names, because 18 U.S. Code 2385 spells out the crime of advocating the overthrow of the government. These 11 must be charged under its provisions. If not now, then on January 20th.
All right, Dave, let me close that one out there. All right, Dave, we're good.
I want to make just 3 quick comments.
And that relates to this thing with Veg said about, don't seat them, just fighting back. And, there's something we have to do with these bastards.
First of all, everything Mr. Oberman said is 100% accurate. That's number one. Number two, there is not a caveat, but this has served me well for 68 years, and I'm going to stay with it for as long as I'm on the planet. I will believe that people do what they do when they do it, not when they say they're going to do it. Okay. Now, what does that mean? I'm not going to get upset about it, what they're doing right now, but I've made up my mind what should happen, and Mr. Oberman has said it. If they carry through with this, they should be charged with attempting to overthrow the duly elected government of the United States. That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
Well, shouldn't the threat be there, like what Oberman's saying? Shouldn't it start coming out from some of the tougher Democrats? Look, we're gonna charge you with sedition, or we're gonna do this. You've got to have somebody's got some balls. It can't be just Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell.
Did you listen to what I said? I don't think you did. Here's what I said. They can posture. That's just posturing too, Brian. It's what happens. Well, right now, the government is still in Donald Trump's hands. January 20th, it'll be in Joe Biden's hands. I've seen the comments tonight. I've sent my money. I hope everybody who has a few dollars sends it down there. It is ludicrous on one hand, the amount of money that's being spent in Georgia for two people to lose. But on the other hand, this is very much the ease of the ball game. It's not the ball game; it's the ease of the ball game, right? If we, and by we I mean not the Trumpublicans, get control of the Senate, which we would have with the vice president as a tie-breaking vote, that makes it much easier. McConnell is already on record as saying that he will not approve anything that comes through. I saw the number tonight. It was amazing. I want to say 435, but it's either 430, maybe 495. It's 4 something 5 bills the House has passed on his desk that he will not move any further. Okay. One of the things, the third thing I want to say about Oberman, so you've got, first of all, what he said is true. Secondly, you have to wait until they do it. Remember, a crime is not a crime until it's done. Now, I understand, there's the provision in the free speech kind of thing. It's never really, this is interesting. I researched this. People believe this was said. It was never said. You can't holler fire in a crowded theater. That's nowhere to be found in legal documents. Okay. But that's kind of the understanding. And of course, they're doing that right now. Basically, and that's the third thing. We have to see not only how that plays out, this gets back to the violence and the other part. Those 74 million who voted for Donald Trump, who, like I said, I would have no problem them being deported to Uranus or wherever tonight, if that's what happened. Not all of them would necessarily condone violence or do that kind of thing. So there's more every day breaking off. Remember when they voted for Donald Trump? I'm sure, I don't know how many, maybe 2, maybe 10 million, I don't know, went in thinking, okay, he's going to win. I want him to win. I'm going to vote for him. Oh, wait a minute. He didn't win. Wow. The party, if they lose in Georgia, which is huge, the fact that Joe Biden won Georgia is huge. If they lose in Georgia, it's 2 major factors. One would be everyone who does not favor Republican leadership or Republicans running the country should thank every black person they see if they're white, because it's going to be the black vote that changes that. But there's also another factor in this. Trump's big victory in 2016, as counterintuitive as it might seem, also depended a lot on white suburban soccer moms, that kind of thing that happens. And they have deserted him a lot. Environmental Coffee House, Sandy.
We agree with that one.
Kyle's parents should be in prison. And again, okay. I'm not going to give anybody a break, but I think you have to be realistic about this. In 2015, did you think we would be here in 2020, Brian? Where we are right now?
Where we are right now? In 2015, never.
Never did I. Okay, and I consider myself fairly politically.
This is like the horror that you could not believe would have happened. It is
well.
Worse.
I mean, I consider myself fairly politically astute.
I mean, you've been around longer than I have, and you.
Well, but no, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, like I said, I tell everybody, I'm not ashamed of that. 13 times, 11 times, Trump said something when he was running for president. I said, he's not going to get it now. Then when he did get it, I said he'll never win the primary, and I would have bet everything short of my grandchildren that he would lose, but he didn't. Okay, and so that's my point that I'm making is, and then on top of this, playing on top of this is this virus. So we have 2 things that nobody could consider. Should we have considered that a Trump should come along? Yes. Okay. There's all kinds of evidence for it. but it's just so anti-American. And especially after Barack Obama, so many of us were feeling maybe America was turning a corner. What I didn't see, and I don't think a lot of Americans saw, was that backlash push. How racist America is. And Lord knows, Brian, we live in South Jersey. We should know that, right? Or we lived in South Jersey. The other side, this pandemic, Andromeda Strain. I mean, but they were all science fiction books, and movies. And I don't care how, I'm watching The Stand now, Stephen King's book, written in 1978, right? And it was a pandemic. So, I mean, there's been huge bestsellers. I mean, yes, and people have been warning. I cited, but we were kind of lulled by what happened before. The pandemics were stopped, right? Ebola, AIDS. I mean, AIDS, if you didn't have sex, you didn't get it. Unfortunately, it was labeled a homosexual male homosexual disease. It certainly wasn't. But that's kind of what it did. So, it didn't kill as many as it probably could have. Ebola was stopped in its tracks. SARS, MRSA. And this one wasn't. And it isn't. And my point, when we're pointing out all this finger pointing, I think we have to remember that this is all brand new for everybody, on our side and on their side, right? Now, their side is wrong. I have no question about it. But I think we have to be very careful about criticizing. Well, it's fine to criticize our side. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But we have to be very careful just to remember that we got a victory. We got a huge victory, right? And nothing's going to change that. Nothing's going to change that. The courts aren't going to change it. The military's not going to change it. There's no power to have a coup. 15,000 people coming to Washington, D.C. Do you know how many came for the first March Freedom in 1963? 120,000. Big cry from 15. And that movement didn't even generate, right? Or, enough. So, it's focused on the Capitol. So I think people worry a little bit too much. Now, having said all that, that's in the immediacy. The big question, and this is what some people are talking about tonight, and Mr. Oberman was talking about, is what happens on January 20th, right? And that's a huge question. Now,
you don't have any worries about January 6th, aside from bloodshed.
What are they going to do, Brian?
I don't know.
Tell me what they're going to.
I don't know. I'll say this much.
Go ahead.
My guess is they'll do something.
All right. Listen to me.
Maybe something you've never heard of. I don't know. Okay. I don't trust these bastards.
Brian, it's not about trusting. It's about their goal. They can't accomplish their goal. Their stated goal is to overturn an election which has been stamped as proper. It can't be done. Now, let's assume that I'm wrong. Let's assume, you always have to assume you're wrong. Then every person who disagrees with that either has to take to the streets or leave the country. Okay? I mean, yeah, it could happen. I mean, I guess. I don't see any legal reason. I mean, 15,000 people can't change the votes of 84 million people, Brian.
And I agree with you. Nothing legal. Nothing legal can happen.
That's January 6th. We've had, some of our faithful fans have said, and that's absolutely true, that there will be violence. I mean, that's a given. If you don't want to be involved in that violence, I would suggest to you that no matter how committed you are, you not go that day. This is a day. You use sports before I'll use it. I'll use Mr. Biden. Remember when Joe was hiding in the basement? Remember that? He's hiding in the basement, man. He doesn't come out. That was Trump's. The people were saying, and even the Democrats. Well, he's got to get out there. He's got to get out and campaign. No, Joe Biden did exactly what he needed to do. He let Trump punch himself out. And the greatest, you mentioned Jack Johnson, and I never saw Jack Johnson fight other than, on YouTube, or as James Earl Jones portrayed him in The Great White Hope. But I did see Muhammad Ali fight. And Muhammad Ali is the best fighter I've seen in my lifetime. And even he knew, he came up with a technique called rope-a-dope. And that's a very valid technique. Let the big bad boys punch themselves out. You take the punches and then you roll with it. And right now, I think people are looking at Joe Biden just as Joe Biden of the past. And I think that's a mistake. Why is Joe Biden not the Joe Biden of the past? A few reasons. Number one, he was vice president for 8 years, and he saw what they did to his friend Barack Obama. And in politics, there's been some friendships, and I think theirs is a genuine friendship. It came out of politics, two very different people, two generations, and they saw, he saw that. He realizes what he accomplished before was in a different Congress, at a different time, in a different setting. He also knows that I think Joe Biden is a family man, legitimately. He certainly has a track record to prove it. I don't know of any other congressman that took the train home every night so he could be with his children when he was sworn into Congress, and was back on time the next day. So it's not something you just Johnny come lately to. And Trump and the Trumppublicans attacked both his sons. Both his hero son is dead, and Hunter. Now, I'm sure that when the investigations get going into Hunter Thompson, it would not surprise me.
You mean Hunter Biden? Right?
Yeah, that's a Freudian slip, right? I want Hunter Thompson back to write about this. No, Hunter Biden. I'm sure that there'll probably be some untoward things that we might find out about it. And this is not an excuse, it's just a statement. Hunter Biden and Hunter Thompson and myself all share something. It's not the name Hunter, because only two of the first. We were all addicted to alcohol and drugs at one point in our lives. Now, you make a lot of stupid, foolish decisions when you are addicted. That's not excusing you from those decisions, right? I'm just saying that. So it would surprise me if it's not there. But those people who love you stick by you. And when they see, which he has done, gone to rehab and cleaned himself up, as well as just one day at a time, but right now he's got some sobriety behind it. They love you even more. So there's that, Joe Biden. And then the other thing is that Joe Biden, I think, unless it's by acclamation, will be a one-term president by choice. So smart. He will be able to make decisions that nobody running for a second term would make. He doesn't have to be cautious. But everybody out here, myself, you, Brian, all of us, need to remember something. Revenge is only good if it allows for your goal to be met. And your goal should never be revenge. Your goal should be something above that. So what I want to see, and I'm beginning to see it, I want to see the Republican Party not be able to win a national election. And I believe that the biggest help for that right now is their own actions. They've lost a lot of their intelligentsia. The Lincoln Project was a lot of the brains of the Republican Party. Now, some of them are coming to the Democratic side. But if they want to bifurcate, I'm fine with that too, because you know what a bifurcation does? If there are two Republican parties, or two right-leaning parties, or whatever you want to call them, then they can't win. And so I, at this point, between now and the 20th, I still don't see any cause for worry and concern. The next time there's cause for worry and concern politically is, will Americans, and I have my doubts, will Americans get behind President Biden and do his 100-day mask, wear mask for 100 days? They will not. What do you do if they don't? Do you fine them? Okay. You really, will that stop them? Do you incarcerate them? Okay. Do you kill them?
Well, let's take that for a second. Let's suppose that, I mean, as much as this is a horrific event, this pandemic, let's suppose it really was just absolutely like anthrax type. It was just so deadly. Right. Then you'd have to do something like that, wouldn't you? I mean, I know we're going off into the deep end there, but
no, you're not, because see, what's happened is, and I think this is
because one day we might have that, Dave.
No, well, look, if you listen to the scientists, and that's something that the right doesn't do,
right?
If you listen to them, or if you have common sense. So I'm going to go the common sense approach. Now, I can't prove this, so this is as unprovable as any conspiracy theory ever, presented, which you can't prove a negative or a positive. But I'm pretty sure that at some point in human history, there was a virus that wiped out the world, that took out a tribe in some remote part of the Amazon and never was able to spread any further because we didn't have the contact in those days. Now the Black Plague did spread. The difference between the plagues prior to the 20th century and those after is we have more sanitary conditions now, right? We don't, there's an old wives' tale that high heels actually came in because people were dumping their slop, their waste out in the streets, and people wanted to be above it. But the point is they were doing that. It was just everywhere. So disease was everywhere. We don't have that now. But what we do have that they didn't have then is worldwide contact. We have a lot of listeners, not a lot. We have some good listeners from Australia. And I could jump in a plane if we could fly, if there weren't a pandemic, and if I had my own private jet. And I could be to Australia, which is basically around the world, 12 hours difference, in a day, in less than a day. We can be anywhere. Well, if we can do that, so can any small disease. This may sound, I don't want to anyway break. What are we up to now? 328,000, whatever the death toll is in America. But really, we're pretty fortunate with this one. If we learn from it, right? Would you agree, Brian? I mean, if we learn from it. Now, so far, we haven't learned from it, okay? But we've had a president who could not have been, I can't conceive of a worse president for anything, but especially for this disease, because he doesn't care about anything but himself. And when he got it, I believe, two things happened. Number one, he doesn't understand he got the best care in the world, right?
Right.
And number two, he came out and he believed, this is true. It's been verified. He was going to come out and rip his shirt open and have a Superman T-shirt under it. Think about that. That's the president of the United States was going to do that. So I believe he does believe that, he's now immune. And I think his life he was immune to loss. What he did when he lost, Brian, he readjusted a loss. This time he can't readjust the loss. And you know what? It doesn't matter whether he's calculating this or whether he's absolutely gone insane. It doesn't matter because he can't change.
Dave, there's a thread here. We've been through this before. Kim, we're very close to you, Dave and I. We love your comments. Dave, do you want to address that? Why? Yeah, he said the environment should be our number one concern. It is the most deadly situation right now.
No.
But
here's why. Here's how I look at it. It's only me looking at it, Kim. So don't change your mind because it's me. If you were to ask me, what is the most likely way the world will end, it would be through our lack of care and concern for the environment. Okay, I don't think there's any question about that. Anyone who sees it differently certainly doesn't understand science. But sometimes there's more an immediate concern, right? And right now, to me, the more immediate concern is for America. Maybe we're gonna have to let the rest of the world battle that. environmental thing for a while. And we're going to have to catch our breath, and we're going to have to get the coronavirus under control, because right now that is the biggest threat to America. It's bigger than Trump. It's bigger than anything else. Now, we also have to get our politics some way back in order. And if we do those two things, then the economy maybe can get back to some semblance. Then we have to look at what the economy hasn't been bad to everybody. Jeff Bezos is making so much money, I don't think he could count it in a day. So, I mean, that's fine, and I don't want to see anybody give up their environmental fight. But I don't think at this point in my thinking, for America, right now, until we get the virus under control and our politics in some way to fight. That's another thing. I would say to environmentalists, if you wanted to get the environment, continue to work on it, the number one thing, I hope you did it on November 3rd, that was to vote for Joe Biden, because you are completely wrong if you say that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are equal when it comes to the environment. They're not. That's just not a true statement. Joe Biden may not be the guy you want, may not be the guy I want, but he is better for the environment and on the environment than Donald Trump would be. So I think sometimes, there's a time to fight for things, a time. And I think if you're doing those things, like I said, if you're fighting to get the virus under control, then you're fighting to get the government back in America and fighting to, try to restore some kind of safety net for people that desperately need it. All those things also affect the environment.
Dave,
So
I'd
you
like to add myself a little bit there, Kim.
Sure.
I guess the way I would put it, my state of tune is not too much different than Dave's, but I would agree, Kim. I mean, first of all you have to do is go back my old channel, iGeneralist, which is now back. It's not head in the box anymore. If you look back, I was doing this stuff 10, 12, 13 years ago. I was making videos about I-610. And I've talked to Peter Wadhams. We had those interviews with Guy McPherson. Look, I know existentially it's like the biggest problem for the earth, and it's going to happen quickly. And it may, as Guy McPherson says, be beyond the point of no return. I don't think Dave is arguing against that, and I certainly am not arguing against that. That's the big one, the environment. I get that. The question is, what is the best possible route, the quickest, most efficient route to be able to deal with that? And we have an intransigent Russia. We have an intransigent United States. We have an intransigent Brazil. There has to be pressure. And the only way you can get pressure on Russia is you get pressure from the United States. And then that gets the rest of the world. And that's what Biden at least said. And I think it's intelligent. You have to build coalitions, because you can't just say, okay, we're going to go to solar power and wind power in the United States, because in a certain sense, Republicans are right, because they're doing it over there too. They're going against. So we have to put so much political pressure, and it has to be done now. And I agree. It has to be done. And again, Guy may be right. It may be too late, but you still have to fight the fight. But
Brian, let me interrupt you there.
Okay.
If I may.
I've done it enough, so.
No. I'm not interrupting you, so I'm just saying this.
No, I want you to.
I often think this too. When people, again, when people say the environment, what they're really saying is humankind. Who's to say we should last forever? If we mess it up, shouldn't we go? What's that about? The Earth may be able to regenerate itself.
And even if we're not here, it wouldn't matter anyway, because we're not here.
What I'm saying
it does
is,
matter, but it's not a picnic either way.
Does it really matter in the relative scheme of things?
If we survive?
If the Earth can regenerate itself, right, and be fine, whatever that is, without people, I just find that.
Well, I talked about this with Sandy recently, Dave. and I don't want to get into evolution,
I mean,
but
no.
evolution is no picnic either. It's not a great system. So if the whole thing went, I don't know that it would be something horrible anyway, because it's.
I mean, look, really, what we're talking about, in a way, is the end, of
We don't want the suffering, though, Dave. That's the whole point.
yeah.
Massive suffering is the problem. It is.
Death. You know what solves massive suffering?
Quick death.
Any kind of death. Any kind of death. So
Yeah, but you don't want the painful death,
you don't.
Who
Personally?
doesn't? I'm just saying, would you rather have a button that destroys us all this quickly, or would you rather have this?
You don't, Brian. You don't get that chance. You don't get that choice. You don't get that choice in life.
No, and that's my point. We don't.
The only choice you get in life is to take your own life if you choose to do that. So what I still think that my point is, and I don't expect environmentalists to agree with me, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if the world would be that bad without human beings. I really don't. Especially if we're the ones who destroyed it. Right? And what does it mean to destroy the world?
We're a real threat to the
But I
planet.
do know this. America, and indeed the world, is really in rough shape if we lose democracy.
Yes, then you will have the suffering that we're trying to avoid, because the
So
Republicans don't care about the suffering.
Well, what I always find interesting about that,
or the
too,
planet. I mean, they don't care about the environment.
well, and
They've got the
really,
rapture. Jesus is going to come down just in time. As soon as we hit 104 degrees and there's no photosynthesis, sure as shit, Jesus is coming right down and saying,
Sandy,
"Come on, fellas, go up the escalator."
Sandy, since you once were kind of a quasi or a real deadhead, I don't want to argue with you, but I never use the word excellent in the same sentence with Brian. It's just something that I think you leave yourself open whenever you do that, but that's just me. So for the environmentalists out there all over the world, please keep doing what you're doing. I think it's a foul, I think it's a tremendous cause. I think it's something that's worth it. But I'd have to ask, right now, some of us have things that we just think are more immediately important. And it doesn't mean, that you should shun us or we should shun you. We give, I try to do what I can.
Dave, Kim just said you need to be on Sandy's show. That would be interesting.
Oh,
because now you've got all those there's 13,000 subscribers.
Look, Brian, I don't get why
Let him attack him instead of me.
No. I don't have a problem with being attacked in that sense. I'm not saying they're wrong.
Until he's attacked.
No, Brian. I'm not saying they're wrong and I'm right.
Right.
I say that to anybody who supports Donald Trump, and I have no problem saying that to them. Okay? What I do say is, if you find someone who supports taking care of the environment and doesn't try to despoil it, but believes that there's a different way than your way to get there, that's okay. Who will learn?
About you.
Nah, Kim, I'm too old to learn any damn thing, hon. No, man. I will.
Let him do it. I told you, he's got nothing to do on Tuesday nights. He's got nothing to do on Thursday nights. He's got nothing to do on Sunday nights. He's got nothing to do.
No, I have no problem with that. Actually, I guess it's time to unveil. All this is just practice for when I become a capitalist and make money. No. It would be interesting because I think, I have no problem arguing philosophies or not. No, let me rephrase that. I have no problem argument ways to accomplish a goal. And I think if you claim and I shouldn't say claim, if you are legitimately concerned with the environment, then you're on my side. So we can discuss, argue, scream, whatever all day about how we best get there. That's fine. Okay. What I don't want to have is I'm not interested in talking to a senator who brings a snowball on the floor of the U.S.
Yeah, what a son of a gun he is.
Or Trump who says, well, it could be China, it could be a hoax. It's not, No.
Or
No,
Putin,
it's
who
real.
says we don't really know. We have to investigate climate change more to find out if man is having an effect on it. You know,
I guess this is a
Well,
night.
he's such a
wrap.
good guy.
No, but you know what, Brian? I think this is. I just had this thought, so I'm going to throw it out there. People, if you don't like it, please object to it. I like when that happens because it's a brand new thought. I haven't thought this before. Who was it? Was it Kim? Who said rapture tonight? It was Kim, right? Was the first one to come up with that.
Somebody said it.
Yeah,
it
talking
might
about
have been
rapture.
Kim. Yeah.
And I think also, I think there's such a thing, and Putin has it, and Trump has it, and some other billionaires have it. The rapture is part of the rapture is that I will be taken care of. That's part of the rapture.
Right.
Okay. And I think they don't care what happens now because their economics needs are being kept, and that's where their soul is. So I think it's a question of soul. I really do. Where is your soul? And if your soul is in organized religion, and it's in religion that says, if you believe in Jesus or whatever, you're going to go. Well, that's where your soul is.
Dave, they're up for you being on the EC show. That I'll tell you what, I'll get my popcorn ready and
Sandy, send me the link, babe. I'm ready.
I can't wait because I'm going to watch that son of a gun, and I'm going to just sit back and have my good old time, boy.
Let's see. And my thing, it would be interesting. So, also, Brian, you and I have different purposes.
He doesn't know what it's like to be attacked.
You're a cynic. I'm a cynic.
You're a cynic, boy. Why am I talking
why
like
would that?
this?
Why you say cynic as if that's a bad thing, Kim? Tell me why that would be a bad thing. Waiting for Kim's comment.
I'll have to push ahead.
Okay, let me.
Kim, if you're still there, I'll jump comments if you can.
No, I like Sandy's now. Brian, you were popular. It's not about popularity. It's about being right.
Not me. I don't know if that was it. I don't know. Not me. I don't know. Kim, if he wants to know why he's a cynic.
Oh no, I didn't say that, Brian.
What'd you say?
I said, why is being a cynic a bad thing? I didn't even say whether I am or not.
Dave, Sandy, I'm going to keep interrupting you. I have no attention here. Let her know. You can see I'm making this on.
When's your next, Sandy? When's your next show?
All right. I hope it's tonight because I'll shut this fucker down.
I'm fine.
No, who's the attack? No, I just want to see the chat room. That's where the attacks come from.
Yeah, and it's fine. Look,
you won't get it from Sandy. Sandy's cool. She's not going to give you any shit.
Brian, now you're doing it. What's so bad? Let me ask you something. Seriously, what's so bad? What's so bad about being attacked?
For me, and I've been through this before, Dave. It's because it was my own channel, my own subscribers that came on. It was my personal thing because I knew that when you have subscribers, they normally are the ones who are watching because they like what you're saying. But I said because of all the Guy McPherson people, all of a sudden I wasn't quite left enough. So in other words, my original iGeneralist subscribers, they're cool with me. They were always cool with me. But then I had 800 people who were like,
does it make?
This fucker's not left enough.
What difference does it make?
Because you can't have a channel that is 180 degrees in subscribership against you. You can't.
Why?
Because then you defeat the purpose of the channel, I think. Because then you're just having
but that's, now you're
the war there.
What is the purpose of a channel?
I think, at least in our channel, let's just say our page, the Divided We Stand, we said we are divided in this country, therefore we are not going to have open forum. We are going to have people who generally think the same, and it's worked out beautifully. We are all generally on the same road. We all know that we're right. And, we may have slight differences, subtle differences, but it was the right thing. And I think it's okay when people are against you. But, again, I set up the channel wrong, Dave. You see what I'm saying? I had it sort of right. But then when Guy McPherson came on, all of a sudden we're getting 36,000 views.
Did you learn from it, Brian?
Yes, I learned from it.
There you are.
A tough lesson.
That's it. I mean, the whole idea for me, some people it's religion. It's learning. and we learn through good things. We learn through bad things. It would be easier. There you are. Somebody just said your name again. You're popular. That's the wrong adjective used with Brian. Still, Sandy, I'm waiting. Let me know when the show is. Just type it in. And Kim, if you know, type it in.
Thank you, Kim, because I didn't I didn't think it was that great by me.
Okay,
it wasn't one of my best
Kim,
performances.
Kim, there's another word you have to be very careful using in a sentence with
that
Brian.
was good.
Great.
Thank you, though.
Great, yeah.
But
you have to be very.
I don't know what the hell I did.
Hey, look, I don't have all the answers. You know what? When people attack you, I think that's more important than when they agree with you, Brian. I really do. Do you know why? And I'm going to tell you. No, I don't want you to speculate. I'm going to tell you what I think.
It's because there is a certain attraction, actually, I suppose. They're addicted to...
No. I'm saying what I did. I didn't say the right answer. Here's what I think. If all you do is hang out with people that agree with you, right? You don't learn, they don't learn, it goes going to be up. If you encounter from time to time after a restful period, because it's not a lot of fun to get attacked, but you come out, three things can happen. Number one, you can be convinced by their attacks that you're even more right than you were before it started. That's one thing that can happen. Number two, which may even be better than number one, is you say, you know something? They kind of a point. I better do more research on this, or I better think more. I better talk to some people, better read more, whatever. And maybe I need to change my position. And number three may be the most valuable one of all. Hey, I really was on the bad road. I've seen the light and I've got to get on that road. So, I mean, I've never found anything wrong. Well, yeah, I know. Sandy taught the audience about
You wait till you get Dave on. You're going to have, this is going to be like World War III. It's great.
Of course he knows about Russia. He's been a spy for him for 40 years.
Yeah. He's still accusing me of having affairs with Russian prostitutes.
You did.
I did not.
And they weren't just prostitutes. They were high-ranking Russian officials.
Yes.
At least they were female.
I'll tell you what. I will say this. The days when I went there, when it was the Soviet Union, when Taurus was there, the guides were, they work for the KGB.
How the hell we got on Russia, and I don't know. But I'm going to bring us back from Russia. No,
okay.
This is cool. I rarely do this, so I'm gonna kind of. It actually came from one of
Tuesday, Dave. You're on Tuesday.
Got it. What time? I mean, you just send me an email. You have to tell me.
Can't wait.
Well, I'll bring my fan club with me.
That would be.
I don't have any fan club.
I like the perfect moment? Like you have him on, and after like 3 minutes, all of a sudden, Judy, his wife, calls him an asshole from the back.
Well, she does that all the time. That's that. There's nobody more critical of me than Judy, so I'm fine. Talking about Russia, let's bring that back into the discussion. All right?
We don't really need to.
Yeah, we do, because it does apply.
You're a cynic because you deny being a cynic.
Oh, I didn't deny it. I said, what's so bad about being it?
Right.
See, this is frustrating a little bit because all I ask is people answer the question, so that's fine. No, Kim, I'm just asking you. Russia. Here we go. Number one, I grew up with a given. Republicans hate Russia. That's no longer true. Correct, Brian?
Republicans used to hate Russia.
I said that's no
longer true.
Okay. Number two, I'll be glad, and I don't know when that'll happen, when I stop watching. Everything I watch through the eyes, through my eyes, but I put it in relationship to Trump and what's going on now. Through Ryan Velez. Ryan encouraged me to do something. That's why I say step out of your comfort zone sometimes. Is this. He said, you've got to watch The Queen's Gambit. Now, I have many faults. One of those is if something gets too popular, I tend to stay away from it. You know what I mean? Just, okay. And, finally, Judy and I, there's very little we can agree on in terms of what to watch on TV. And so I said, you want to try this? And we did. And I was riveted. If you'd ever told me I'd be riveted by chess, but you know what scene, I don't want to give it away because it's nothing, but it's about chess. And anyway, the very last show, she, the star, the young woman who's this chess, genius prodigy, she ends up in Moscow. And every time I see Moscow, I want to go there. I've never been, and I want to go there very, very badly. I got to Cuba. that was like a place I wanted to go. And Moscow would be at the top of my list of places. And when you see it, it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it. And I think part of that gets back to my point before. It was forbidden by the Republicans, so I thought, well, I'm not a Republican, and so maybe they're not so bad. And then the third reason for me in Russia is that my uncle was a he's a very well-to-do farmer in New Jersey. And he got appointed to one of the first exchanges was farm exchanges, and he went to Russia, and he came back and he told me something. So Uncle Edwin, think about you Christmas time. He's been gone for a long time. But he told me this, and it was very important. He said, you know something? I said, what? He said, the Russians are just like us. Just like us. They're just people. And he said, it's the governments. And so I think that's part of it. But I'm a little worried now about America.
Yeah,
in terms
because
of
that's because they do have like their Trumper types like Putin. By the way, Dave, you were going to be advertised as Dave the Democrat, which he doesn't like. He doesn't like you. You
No,
speak for yourself.
No, it's not that I don't like it. I have no problem with whatever anybody else labels me. If you want to label it properly in my way, I'm not playing semantics. It's just who I am. I would not join any party. I would not.
I think, Dave, stop. I got the perfect one. You see where it says, I will advertise as Dave the Democrat. I would cut every word off except the last two and have, oh boy, that would be perfect.
No, to add what you're saying.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm liberal, and the Democrats are the more liberal, but I wouldn't join their party. I never really. I liked playing at parties as a musician. I didn't like going to them. Well, it's fun. Yes, Sandy, I agree. Brian doesn't fascinate me, but Russia does.
Yeah.
Since we're way off topic, and this is more fun than having a topic, we're responding to our thing. I actually looked into that. National Geographic has a trip, Trans-Siberian train. Now, of course, it would be first class. I think it's something like $35,000. It's a lot of money, to go. That's not what it would cost if you ride, normally, and it would be interesting. So maybe what we'll do is I'll come on the show and then you guys can sponsor me to go to Russia.
By the way, I think Joey has a YouTube thing now, but Joey's causing problems. Joey's naming his channel "Divided We Stand."
I have no problem with that, Joe. Whatever you do, Joey.
Boy.
Whatever you do, Joey. Boy, is this show degenerate. But you know what? It's fun.
Degenerate. Yes.
You know what's good? You know what's good, Brian, about this?
You
know what's good tonight? You know what you're doing right now that you weren't doing in the beginning of the show?
I wasn't. That's right. I wasn't pissed off.
No,
I was pissed off, and now I'm not pissed off. Right.
And I think that's something we need to think of a lot in these troubled times.
Now they're calling you Price.
I have no problem.
It's like Judy now.
I don't. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter. Hey, I've been called far worse, man. The idea of it is, maybe we will. Oh yes. Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, Joey's like that. Joey's the number one troublemaker out there. So,
but all of us tonight. Here's our lesson for tonight. I always have to be the teacher and sum up. This is a lesson I hope we imparted to you tonight. What we tried to do, I don't know if we did, and it was unintentional completely, but I think it's the most important thing we could have said. In troubling times, you still have to laugh. You still have to laugh.
Yes.
And tonight we found something in as troubling at times as it's been ever. My musical idol, if I had one, is Bruce Springsteen. And I was reading something today where he said, this is the most divided, and I agree with him. This is the worst I've seen the country since I was a boy. He was talking about 68 in that period, 74, which I talk about. This is worse. But you still have to find, what should I say? Something to laugh about. And it's very difficult now because a lot of things that people relax to, whether it's going out to a bar, whether it's going to a movie, can't be done. So it's very stressful. So, tonight, if people got a laugh out of this, I don't think it's the worst thing. I remember when I was toying with and in SDS back in the day, as they say. One of the things that turned me off to them was this rigid. We've got to, sometimes you need a break from that. And sometimes humor is a very good approach. I think it would be much more effective to be satirical to Donald Trump than it would be to scream at him. So it can be very effective. It can be very effective. You said
comedian
before,
would be much better to debate against
Trump
than a serious politician.
And then the other thing is, though, too, one of the things that you and I do seem to differ on, and one of us is right and one of us is wrong, and that doesn't matter which one. I really believe at this point, you said before, you got to shame them. I don't think they understand shame or react to it. I don't think they feel it.
Well, look at Ted Cruz. He has to have the beard to cover his chinless face. I think that they do want to avoid it. Trump's, he's got to have his hair.
That's personal shame. That's not.
I think it's enough of an indicator that they don't like shame.
No, Brian. Look.
You see, there's no shame politically. Then you're saying that they don't.
That's what I'm saying. Oh yeah, if you were to roll out their Johnson, they might be shamed, right? Or Trump with his hair. I mean, it's kind of
it's kind of sight, to be honest.
Well, the other thing is it's pathetic because
disgusting.
The other thing is he could be very hip, shave his head. That.
Well, he can't. As far as I know, he can't because he had that 1970s procedure of scalp reduction. So they cut this part out and close it up. Now he's got a big scar here.
Then where I don't know, but. Yeah, so let's get back. Just a couple of things I want to say real quickly before we wrap up.
And by the way, before you finish it, everybody, Tuesday night at 8, I will be watching. Dave will be on ECH. Please, Sandy, don't give him any softball questions. Go right into the
I don't want any softball.
Okay.
I don't want any softball questions.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. David Perdue couldn't feel. Look, with Perdue, Loeffler, Trump, Cruz, they are so bad. If they felt any shame, they would take the Japanese way out with Harry Carey. They couldn't face being themselves. So no, they feel absolutely no shame whatsoever in any way. And some of that we've enabled. Like Gary Hart wasn't president because he was having an affair. Gary Hart would have been a good president. He would have, trust me.
Yeah.
No, he would have been. All right. The only thing that made me back away.
Maybe he wouldn't have had Reagan because of that.
Well, no. The only thing that made me back away from that a little bit was, well, wait a minute. He kind of defied the report. He said, "Come get me," and they did. So that might be a little ego he would have had, but that kind of thing. But now there's no shame in that. I mean, so a lot of things that used to be shameful aren't anymore. There used to be a saying. It's not original. It's been around for years. I mean, I heard it years ago. A political saying that the only reason that a politician needs to worry, of course, it was a male politician needs to worry, is they're found by a group of their constituents in their office having sex with a live boy or a dead woman, and that was the joke. But now it may well be true. So some of this shame, it isn't out there, but certainly you should be ashamed of making money when you had insider information in the Senate. Kim, you're coming on, right? Kim's coming on the show, right?
I don't know.
She's
always in the chat. I know that.
Come on, man.
Sandy usually has people on. Sandy has on like Antonio a lot, and
I really, I mean, Antonio and I get along well.
What's his other name? Claude Humphrey or something. I forget his name. I can think.
Anybody, bring them all. I mean, it's it's fun. We can make them laugh too.
But I'm gonna be watching that one.
Like I really care. I mean, what I'm supposed to worry about you watching it?
I cannot.
You won't get there on time.
I cannot wait.
You never get our show underway.
No, it doesn't matter. I will be there at 8:00 at my computer, and I'm going to have myself a drink, and I'm going to relax, and I'm going to have the best 2 hours of my life. At least this year so far. It will be great. It will
better than when you got the $600.
Oh, $600. It doesn't buy.
I said I was going to close out. Here we go.
Nick.
I never take notes, so I got to do this. We forgot Mr. Gomer.
He's on my list too. I forgot all about him.
Yeah,
He was
Mr.
on
Gomer.
he was like number 3 on my shit list. The beginning of 19, he moved up, but I forgot about him for a while, and then he got COVID, and I was kind of hoping, if you know what I mean, folks.
No.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I was hoping, but he's back. That's the dumbest motherfucker out there I've ever seen.
Well, did you hear? I mean, this really. I mean, we can. I suppose we could debate if we wanted to.
2 hours. Dave worked
No.
2 hours. It's 2 hours.
Well,
I need 2 hours of Dave
I have
Price.
no. Hey, Sandy, this is a great thing. I have nothing to do. Come on.
Kim, this is the best thing you could have done. I thank you. This is just, I cannot wait.
Now, you
my name does
understand-
not come up in that show, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh
No,
yeah.
because Dave did that in his retirement. Instead of talking about himself, he talked about me for a half an hour in front of 170 teachers. That is something, you ask him questions, but it goes right to the environment. Stick to the points.
Let me tell you something, Brian. I have more bet at Wednesday morning. There will be people there with torches to burn your house and you in effigy than there will be at my place.
You'll be getting me in trouble.
Exactly.
What Weinstein says is all the environmentalists. No, Dave, and it would be better if it was non-Brian Weinstein, any commentator, because Dave is good at politics. He can talk about the environment. This is, you stick to the point, it's going to be great. Just stick to the point, stick to the point, stick to the point, and I'll watch that chat room.
How much?
Now Joey's causing, I'm not even going to post that, Joey, because you're causing problem already.
Joey will watch, man. I know Joey will watch. Well, Brian, look.
No,
I've
you
had
just
fun.
need to take a sedative, Sandy. That's the only way you survive 2 hours of this, okay?
No.
Everybody in Bridgeton knows this, okay?
Okay. Let me tell Sandy a story that may not reassure, but it's true. In the virus, in this crazy 2020, we didn't travel, except twice we went. When I say we went to our former home, DC is our home now. But we went to Brian's stomping ground, where I spent, G and I spent 59 years, South Jersey. And the first time we went, our son just happened to call. And Judy said, I just want to tell you, Michael, we're on our way to and we'll probably stop at Bridgeton. And actually, we're going to stop and see Brian and Ronnie. And his question was, really? Does Dad have any friends left? Or is there anybody in Bridgeton that will talk to him? And I felt bad because there still were a few. And I worked very hard to get rid of them. And I think I was successful. So,
Listen, I got to tell a quick story about Dave, okay? This is the guy. I already told you the story about the graduation. Dave, I haven't told this story in a long time in front of him. Dave had a 60th birthday party for his wife, Judy. Wonderful woman. She's just great, okay? I don't know how she survived that, okay? So anyway, it's in a nice restaurant. Everything was gratis for everybody. Dave laid out a lot of money. It was beautiful, great food. And then, of course, when you were going to get served, you got a salad with your entree, right? And the salad was kind of like one of these smaller type salads. And I remember the waitress said to me, we do have, for an upcharge, which, of course, she's paying for, we have a wedge salad, which has, it's like, well, I'll explain. So everybody got this. And then all of a sudden she brought out mine. And I was the only one out of about 100 people there. This thing was, it was like a basketball. And I'm not kidding. It had all kinds of blue cheese dressing on there. She puts that down and everybody's got this small salad. And he is the master of ceremony. So instead of talking about his wife's birthday, he keeps looking at me and my salad. I'm like this. And I'm telling you, he was so upset that I had that salad. It was so funny because again, his attention went from here to here because I had that goddamn salad. It
Brian,
bugged the shit out of him. Not because he was paying for it, because I had this huge salad and he had this thing like this, and I was.
Let me ask you something, Brian. Did you enjoy the salad dressing?
It was great. It was great.
Would you like to know what was special ingredient I asked them to put in?
I don't need. No, I don't need to know that.
I knew everybody who worked in the restaurant.
All I know is the minute you saw that salad, there was no more Judy's birthday party. It was
I thought you were going to tell.
He said, "What the hell is that?"
I thought you were going to tell the story when I met with Ronnie's family at their party,
Oh, that was
and
another time.
I made it, and they actually all came up to me after and said they wished I had married Ronnie instead of you. I do remember.
He made a speech at my wife's birthday party, and he took a couple cuts at me in front of all these people in Philadelphia. He didn't know. He got really loud, So anyway, I can sense there's going to be a freedom that I have not felt in years on Tuesday night. And get your chat room ready. Dave, be yourself.
Who else can I be?
Yourself. And you explain yourself. And if somebody says you're wrong or pisses you off, you come right back at them.
See, Brian, that's the difference between you and I. You seem to think that's important to come back at them.
For me, I want you to come back at them for me.
No. What I want to do is, I want them. I mean, that makes you think. If people don't come back at you, how are you ever going to realize? You know who you turn out to be if that happens, Brian? Seriously? I mean, I know we're joking, Nate. You know who you turn out to be, though? Not you. I'm saying,
Right. I got you.
You turn out to be Donald Trump. Donald Trump broke snow, and that's not. That's
listen. Look, in all seriousness, it would be exciting for me to see because I always felt that I was like the only one that had to deal with that kind of issue. Not that it was like a big issue. It wasn't like what the chat room was worrying about me per se. I knew that they weren't, and I understand that. But for me, for myself, my code, my character, I always wanted to be in the develop things the right way, and I did it wrong. So I want to see myself in Dave.
But Brian,
that night.
Like you already said, look, nobody can do things. I mean, right and wrong. I'm talking about no one can do things as well when they start as when they finish. Now, if you told me you didn't learn anything from it, then it wasn't a value.
I definitely learned.
Right. And I've learned from you. Mostly, I've learned what not to do. I mean, but that's fine. Now, let's end this damn thing unless somebody. One last question from somebody. It has to be a question though. If the next
I don't know if we're going to get any. We got a lot of comments tonight. I
don't want to look through them. Somebody right now is listening. If we haven't driven everybody away, you can ask a question. It doesn't have to be about politics. We've gone so off tonight. It's been fun. But what kind of brownies? Afghan brownies or regular brownies? That's not a question, though.
I don't think you have any questions, Dave. We had quite a few people showing up to the show.
No, I know they'll never come back, but that's fine. It's not about that. Well, we'll give them another minute. We just
and then we'll have our sound off, and that's it.
Because
do we have something here? Maybe it's a new comment.
Just
good night. Thanks, Veg.
Thanks, Veg. Oh, he's saying good night to Anthony.
Yeah, because he's going to watch the hockey game up in Canada. Probably, I guess. USA plays Slovakia in a couple minutes. I guess.
Oh, okay.
No, 20 minutes. The junior hockey championships are up there. I've been watching.
I don't know if Keith's still on. I know he was there for a while. Keith, I'll be sending you a message. I have a question for you.
Veg, are you going to come? Are you going to come on Tuesday?
Sure. Wasn't he? He was thinking about coming on with us, right? At one point.
No. Actually, Sandy's asking Veg if he would come on.
No, I know, but I said, was it who?
No, that was Osama.
Osama.
I have to get back to him. He did send me. That's Veg is not Osama, but they're in the same circle. Veg is,
and of course, and that's another thing too. I mean, some people.
Joey has said pot. Joey, why are you saying pot brownies? Is there something that that we don't, Joe? Are you doing something?
No, Joey's got it, man. But we're not going to. You know what? Thank you, Sandy, for offering me the opportunity to come on. I'll try to embarrass Brian as much as I can.
No, that's the rule. Dave defends Dave. Okay.
I'm not defending. Why is everything with you a defense?
Look,
are you insecure?
The show is about the environment. I have nothing to do with the environment on Tuesday night. I have nothing to do with it.
Oh, so you're against the environment on Tuesday night?
No, I'm just saying that Gillian. Oh, hey, he knows. Is it Gillian? Is we talking about Marianne or no? Or Gillian? I don't know who's Gillian.
Yeah, that's Gary. Yes. I assume he's talking about Marianne Dawn Wells. I assume
Dave met Dawn Wells.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's got again, as a writer, you get to spend some time with people. She was fat. She was just a very interesting person and a very nice person. Not as nice maybe as she played back then. You need Vegematic. That sounds like that's really interesting. You need a Vegematic in the chair. What, Sandy? Are you making a salad for Brian? A big salad? Is that what you need?
But Anthony and Joey talking about pot brownies.
Nothing wrong with that. They
Okay. We had Christmas mushrooms. See, Joey, you're causing problems again. You're starting.
Is that like magic mushrooms? Do you know
they
there was
were
a group
giving
from
it.
Bridgeton named the Magic Mushrooms, Brian? That had an international hit.
No.
It was actually a doctor, Joe Lacavara, who came back to Bridgeton after he was done. He was at the University of Pennsylvania. Got the band together, and they had a song called "It's a Happening," and it made the charts. And it was so weird. And they had it on, I want to say, CBS Records. Whoever Mitch Miller was in charge of, the bouncing ball guy, and he listened to the lyrics, and he just, even though it was climbing up the charts, he just said, "Take that off. That's a drug song," and it was, but that's beside the point. So there's a Bridgeton tie to mushrooms, and see, everything ties into everything. All right, we're not going to get a question, so I'm going to say, thank you.
Gary Peacock. He has a one-word question, and.
I'm trying to figure out what I want to say to this.
Uh-oh. Folks, Gary and Dave know each other well. Okay.
I got it. Gary's one of my best friends in the world. If anybody doesn't know Gary, you talk about someone who combines an intellect with a good heart. That's certainly Gary.
Absolutely.
Okay, Gary, here's you did give me something, and it's a great ending. Thank you, my friend. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Thanks to Mr. Lennon McCartney. So that's my ending tonight. Brian, you got the rest of the show. I'm going to go here and go to sleep while you talk. So I'm nodding out here.
I have to say, Dave's kind of right. It did start off with me being very intense, emotional, and angry because, and in fact, I'll go back to it probably in a few minutes. Maybe I'll watch the hockey game or something like that to get my mind off it. But I'm still extremely angry with what happened. But anyway, Dave's right. The laughter did help because I was able to forget it for a while. Maybe that's why, again, people watch films back in the 1940s when things were kind of rough. Yeah, it does help because it's hard, really, folks. And I know that you're all kind of like me in this sense. It is a mental strain dealing with Trump for 4 years. This whole country, like every day, it's the same shit. It's the same shit, and there's only so much you can take. I think out of all of this, you can complain about what Trump's done to the environment, what he's done to the law. I mean, you can talk about anything, but I think the main thing is he's put a lot of stress up here. Too much of us. We don't want to think about Trump. And not all of us are like Dave, where you can just kind of. But he does, and he shouldn't be the one to fuck you up. He shouldn't get into this real estate, but he does, and he has. And for some of us, like myself, I've failed because I get so angry that I have to make these I don't know, these things in my head.
COVID.
Yeah, I have to make things up in my head where I win the battle against him, like he falls off Niagara Falls or something like that. But it only works temporarily, you know what I mean? Or you hope that Gomert's not going to make it, and then you hope the next morning you're going to read it, but it doesn't happen. And I don't want to be the kind of guy who looks forward to the misfortune of somebody else. But these people are so bad, folks. I've had enough, and I'm not a depressed person, but it does affect me. It ages me, and he's robbed me of a lot of thought, and that's free time. And if you're a normal person like me, you probably have had that happen to you too, or maybe I'm just the only one who's affected by this son of a bitch. I don't know. Yeah, too much has been taken from me from this son of a bitch, and I'll just take him out of there right now, So yeah, Veg, and you're in Canada, and you're at the deal. I mean, there's a certain sense of freedom because I used to play hockey up there a little bit in Ontario, and have a great Dave knows I have a great friend, Kevin Wheeler, just a wonderful guy, and from Kingston. And I love the Canadian people because they were just so heartwarming, and they're decent people. And, even they're upset. You know what I mean? And if they're upset, then there's a real schmuck down here because most Americans are not like this. And Veg, you know that. But, I've had enough. So, Dave, you better be right because
I am on that one. I'm not right all the time, but
I know
Joe Biden will be our president. Sworn
all right.
in noon.
And I told my asshole cousin that
He doesn't
a
believe
couple
it.
nights ago. He doesn't
Fine.
believe it. By the way, one cousin who did die. One thing I told you about a month ago, I had a cousin that all of a sudden fell ill, and it wasn't COVID. But anyway, long story short, he's a great guy. He was liberal too. But I was talking to the wife of his brother and last night, and they said he was a Trumper. And I said, what? It just hurt me a bit. It just really hurt because I've got family members who are Trumpers. Not immediate family. We're liberal. My immediate family with my mother, my father, and my father's not around, but and my mother's got dementia. But we were liberal, and we'd hate somebody like him. So it's hard when you have family members who are like really far right wing, and they hate. I mean, they've literally said they hate me for what I think. So
Well, Brian, I just to put you at ease, I'm surprised that it took them this long, and that was the issue that made them hate you. There's so much about you to hate
okay.
that I'm just kind of surprised. A lot of that will be unveiled on Tuesday night.
No, we're going to cancel Tuesday night. If it's
really?
This is not going to be about me. I'm
really?
sitting back,
Really?
watching you talk about the environment and what we need to do as a Democrat. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm glad you believe that to be true.
Okay. Look, you're a guest on their show. You answer their questions. You don't start taking
I
over.
have no problem answering their questions.
Okay. All right. That sounds like a promise from Sandy and all to take care of business and ask him the questions that keep him tracked in the right way. All right. Who's one last comment here? Canada lives next to the GOP elephant. Tony, sad that what this evil bastard has done to split family. Yeah, he certainly has. And you know what? Maybe Dave was right. Maybe it's not worth having the friends or even the family that they're not my family if they're going to be like that, because you can't be anything but a racist to like this son of a bitch or some just asshole. I mean, I'm getting rude right now, so I don't want to start trashing my whole family. All right. I think that's it. Let me find a scene here to get us out of here. I appreciate everybody for showing up. Dave, I appreciate you for showing up. I got my warning to you, okay? The rules are played a certain way, okay?
And when have I played by the rules?
That's the problem. But Sandy will discuss how you go about the questioning and
oh yeah, you've done such a good job of it over the years.
Every question should start off with, now on this question, keep to the topic, okay? And then we're good. Okay.
And that's going to stop me?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Somehow I think Joey Fulcher's the cause of this too. So I deleted some Joey Fulcher comments, okay? So, Dave. All right. Well, sooner or later the outro will come on. I did click it. It takes about a minute or two or less. Supposed to come on.
D'un lion, il y a une charité.